Well, well, well. I think I'm going to start every video and email and post with those three words from now on. Here we find ourselves with me seeming to complain again. But please look through the complaint and look for what I'm admonishing all of us to start doing. And so I want to bring up the too often used phrase, especially right now, of a few bad apples. Now, it's not important what that refers to in this moment in time, but I hear it a lot. And I hear it referring to this and that and some other things. But it's misused. And I want to clear that up. And I want to give us something to think about in our own lives. So the real phrase isn't, well, let's go back a second. Most people use that phrase when they want to say, the point they would like to make is, the whole team isn't bad. Just a few people made all the mistakes. They fumbled all the balls. They dropped all the passes. Just a few bad apples. And the point that they wish to convey is, don't blame the whole team. It was really the fault of a few. And I understand that, but they're using the wrong allegory here. The phrase bad apples comes from a larger phrase, and it's in a maxim from olden times. One bad apple ruins or spoils the whole barrel. One bad apple spoils the whole barrel. That's exactly the opposite of what they're trying to say. The maxim is telling you that if you have one rotten apple, one bad one, that rottenness and that decay and corruption will spread to the entire barrel and ruin all of the apples you have in that barrel. That the whole team will suffer if you allow just one bad apple to be in your midst. And that's the exact opposite of what they're trying to say. They want to say that most of us are good, but we have a few bad ones. But the maxim states that if you have a couple bad ones, it won't be long before you're all bad. So, first of all, point that out to somebody when they use that phrase erroneously and upside down, and set them straight. I think what you really mean to say is there's only a few of you that are doing all the wrongdoing, and most of you are really good, upstanding citizens or teammates or players, but you actually are alluding to something that tells us that in no uncertain terms, be careful, because if you allow one bad one in the group, the whole group goes sour. So think about that now in relationship to your life, and specifically, let's start with your training partners and the people you associate with in the gym. That's an easy one. Think of who you work out with and associate with and are nearby. What's your barrel consist of? Who's in that barrel? Who's in that group? And are any of them bad apples? And if they are, it won't be long before that badness, that sourness, that rotten apple is going to spread to the whole group of you. And my admonishment then is, you've got to get away from those people, or you've got to get those people away from you. And I was very fortunate. I've always been fortunate, but I was very fortunate in my competitive years to be in a group of extremely good athletes and extremely driven individuals who there were no bad apples. as far as training goes. Some of them may have been suspect as far as upstanding citizens, but as far as training goes, they were all good apples. I was in a good group. And this also goes for the rest of your life too. Think of the other groups that you associate with. If you're in a work group, what are they like? How many bad apples are in that group? And how long before they affect you negatively? So it's a lot easier, I'm sure, to get rid of a bad apple in your group and than it is to find a bunch of good apples to hang around with. I understand that, but what you should do, first off, do the easy thing. If there are people in your group that aren't pulling their weight, that aren't doing their fair share, that are a bad apple, that are a negative influence, complainers, slackers, negative people, naysayers, doubters, get rid of them. You have nothing to lose but someone who's already dragging you down. But then really make a huge effort in your life to find people that are good apples and get yourself included into that group. Look around. I always look for smarter people to be my friends. They bring you up. I always say this: you would like to be the worst player in the band, not the best. If you're the worst musician in the band, all those other good musicians pull your skill level up. You play better. But if you're the best one and everybody else is worse than you, you kind of get pulled down by them. And the same is true with a team. And the same is true with a workout group. And the same is true with every association you make with people. Always seek people smarter than you, better than you. It's hard to make friends, but it's worth it. Go the extra mile to get included into some of those groups where you can get pulled up and you can learn. The guy in the room who's the smartest has the least potential to learn anything new. But the dumbest guy in the room, he's got the greatest potential to learn the most. So who do you want to be? Where do you want to be? What kind of group do you want to be included in? And I think it matters a great deal, because if you've got a bad apple around, they're going to spoil the barrel you're in, and there's no getting out of your barrel necessarily. I'm advocating that you do indeed jump ship. If you have if you're in a barrel of bad apples, you got to find a way to get out of there. Or you have to get the bad apple out of the barrel. If you can find a barrel that's just full of great apples, there's something to be said for that guilt by association. You're going to be considered a great apple too. So look around your situation. Look around your life. Seek out people who are a little bit better than you, a little bit smarter than you, a little bit kinder than you, a little bit more generous than you, a little bit more whatever you want to emulate, whatever you want to be. Look for people who are a little further down the road than you. Get with those people. Some people like to be the big fish in the little pond. Okay, that's all right if that's all you aspire to. It doesn't take much work if you're already the biggest fish in the pond. If you're the biggest bencher in your gym and you're benching 350, good for you. That's fine if you're satisfied with that. But if you want to see how you stack up against the people in other gyms in your city and maybe your whole state and maybe the nation and maybe the world, I don't know, you have to start looking beyond the small pond. And you wanna look for fish that are bigger than you, that you can try to keep up with, swim as fast as they do, go upstream, do the work. And so two things. One, I definitely think you should look for people that will pull you up and that are good apples. And two, do the easy thing. If you can see that you're being drugged down by a bad apple, how long do you think it's going to be before that really affects your performance? It won't be long. So get rid of the bad apples in your life and seek to associate yourself with a lot of good apples. And success is hard enough. This makes it easier. So one bad apple can spoil the whole barrel. Remember that somebody said that, and I think it's a pretty good thing to remember. Thanks for listening.